Hello and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. We are going to assemble this time my bored and annoyed-ites.
Yeah, we're assembling.
We're assembling.
Right. Even though they assembled like some time ago. They didn't really assemble.
We're reassembling.
They didn't all assemble this time, really.
Oh, God,
I think
spoilers already. Spoilers already in the intro, folks. Welcome to Bored and Annoyed.
Everybody. Yeah, sure. My apologies.
Bored and Annoyed. But maybe let's get into news first.
Okay.
So
and maybe we'll cut a different intro.
Maybe we will.
Yeah, I think we probably should. But let's get into news.
Aquaman. They showed some footage at CinemaCon this week.
This is news to me.
Yeah, so James Wan directing it.
Now stop for a second. They didn't just show the footage of him getting out of the submarine from Justice League, did they? Because that was terrible footage, and it was a joke.
No, and they didn't show him calling Bruce Wayne, or Batman on a beach in front of a bunch of people. No, they didn't do that either.
But did you see the footage?
No, nobody is. Well, I mean, other than the people who were there, nobody's actually seen it. But they recounted it, so there's some characters, and apparently the costume designs are incredibly comic accurate in this.
Okay.
And there's some really silly looking things, so I'm actually kind of excited for that. There's oh God, I forget his name. Sea Master or something. I don't know.
So just to keep score,
right?
The non-Zack Snyder directed movies are 50-50 as far as quality, correct?
Absolutely.
Because there was the Suicide Squad sucked.
Yep.
Wonder Woman was good.
Was good.
The only other two are the Zack Snyders.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so there's still hope that there can be good movies in the world.
They just put all their eggs in the wrong basket.
Okay. And James Wan's awesome. He directed the Conjuring movies.
Absolutely.
Kind of a creative choice to direct this.
I actually really like those, and I'm not super big on horror.
Right, and so I like horror, and I think that those are good ones.
Yeah.
I wish they were rated R.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I mean, the second one sort of lost me at the end a little bit. I didn't think the ending it got a little too supernatural.
Well, just the way that he can the way he sets up a scary scene, like the camera work and everything going on, is very, very artistically done, and it makes you feel anxious.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he has talent.
He has talent. Yeah. I think he also did Fast 7, which I've heard is the best one.
That's funny. Is that the one, the Paul Walker died one? Yeah, I watched that recently. I didn't even realize he did it, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, for being a terrible, cheesy, I mean, they're entertaining.
I mean, I say yeah. I haven't seen any of them past 4.
Only one I haven't seen is the 8th one.
That looks awful.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna watch it at some point. But...
Well, it's part of our news today, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a segue, Alex.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, I'm like, that was too good of a segue to actually keep.
Hold on. Are you about to tell me that the 8th one was the one that had the international box office?
Yeah.
That's the Furious movie that had it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that opened with $85 million in the U.S. What really saved it was it did like $185 in China.
Oh, yeah. They love that shit over there.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of its run, it did something over 400 or 450 mil just there alone. I mean, that brought it to $1 billion.
Right. So, okay, let's get into it then. So, Avengers broke a couple records this weekend.
Huge records. Like, I was really shocked. So, it's the #1 domestic opening weekend of all time.
At what, 258 million?
258 or 259. I think the official numbers are still coming in, but they're saying it's in between those two.
Okay.
And it's got the #1 worldwide opening weekend at 640 million.
There you go. So it crushed it.
Absolute insanity.
And it deserved to crush it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but we'll talk about that later.
I'm really shocked. I mean, you think about this 10 years ago, these are characters that we were told nobody has an interest in a Captain America movie.
Well, they've done such a good. I mean, everybody likes someone in this movie, right? So everybody, whether or not you don't care for Thor or you're sick of Spider-Man or whatever, there's gonna be somebody in here that you want to go see.
Which is, we all talk about like, oh, Marvel, they're It's funny because there are actually two sort of conversations that are had about Marvel. It's, they're daring. Look at them. They went and made a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And wow, they really had faith in these B-list characters.
Right.
But then the other flip side is, well, it's all the same shit.
They're doing the same thing.
There's no risk-taking involved. And I'm like, doing an Avengers movie is actually a genius move because it takes a lot of risk out because you're pooling the fan bases.
Right.
That's a genius move.
Yeah, you can't really lose.
Yeah.
Even if the movie was bad, it would have made a ton of money.
Yep.
And since it's really good, everybody... I mean, I've talked to multiple people who've seen it more than one time already.
Yeah, so, everybody I know has seen it twice at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's just... I was telling you off podcast, I was like, as somebody who grew up with this shit, you know, from the age of 8 on and got into comics, it's the weirdest thing to watch something that you loved as a kid, and then as an adolescent and as a teen growing up, you find sort of thematic maturity in it.
Right.
But it's still looked down upon. And then to when you reach your 30s, like we're in, and have it become this huge cultural moment where it upends Star Wars, which was the previous domestic box office winner.
No, don't hurt my feelings.
But I mean, Star Wars is king. And I mean, there's something that Star Wars can always laud over the Marvel fans. Their merchandise sales are, bar none, the best.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have Star Wars to thank for just the explosion of science fiction, fantasy, all that kind of shit. So
absolutely,
they paved the way. But it's impressive. I mean, especially since The Force Awakens had good word of mouth and people had been waiting for years to see it. I mean, I would assume some people were burned enough by the prequels where they weren't too excited, but in general, everybody was pretty excited.
Right. I mean, I think the weirdest experience for me was that opening weekend. I saw, must have been 60 or 70-year-olds on a double date leaving the theater of Star Wars The Force Awakens and being like, God, that was just like the original. It was great.
Right.
You never see 60 and 70-year-olds going to movies, especially on their own and not taking their grandkids or their children.
Right.
That blew me away. So, I mean, for Marvel to beat that is complete insanity.
They deserve to beat it, in my opinion.
It's a good movie.
I wasn't rooting for it because I'm a Star Wars guy, but they deserved it.
I mean, we were,
You know,
you were a little disappointed, but I was.
I mean, I don't really care.
Right.
Good for them.
Well, in episode 9 might take it back.
No.
I don't know. I mean,
no, I don't have faith in 9 anymore, but we don't have to get into that.
Right.
Does anybody really give a shit what happens next in Star Wars?
I think 8 burns enough people that it might not do well, but if it depends on the marketing when it comes out.
Think about it this way. Everybody walked out of, or most people walked out of The Last Jedi going like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, it was okay, but I'm not like, you're not like fucking dying to see what happens next. And then think about the ending of this movie where it's like they set this thing up. It's going to be, you know, I would kill to see what happens next.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, let's stop talking about that because we don't want to.
We don't want to oversell
time. We don't want to go into that.
So M. Night Shyamalan's Glass.
I saw like a poster or something.
Yeah, that one, they're working on that. They showed some of the footage at CinemaCon. That's another CinemaCon thing. Apparently, Samuel L. Jackson's Mr. Glass and, James McAvoy's character, they're both in prison. And apparently they team up at some point.
He was the something, right? Like the
Beast.
Yeah, the Beast or something like that. Yeah,
God, that was a cool fucking movie.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
They're both in prison though, so the Beast got caught because at the end of the movie he got away.
He got away. Oh
right.
Shit, I just gave away spoilers for a movie that doesn't even have a trailer.
Whatever.
So what are your thoughts
about
you're
giving away spoilers just by saying there's a sequel.
That's true.
With those two characters. That's a spoiler. That you just blew the twist right there, but it's been out for long enough where I don't give a shit.
Sorry. I'm sorry, people, but also I'm not sorry.
A guy I used to work with used to argue with me and tell me that was not a twist. And I say, just because it's unconventional doesn't mean it's not a twist. You didn't realize what you were watching until the end. I think it totally is a twist.
I think the very definition of a twist is to have something happen that you were not expecting. Isn't that a twist?
Right, but he was saying that it's not a twist because it's not something that had anything to do really with the singular story being told in the movie. You know what I'm saying? And my argument
I think that's really faulty logic.
I would say so too.
So yeah, thoughts about Glass? You excited?
I'm excited.
Yeah,
sure. Those are two of my favorite Shyamalan movies. So
yeah,
I'm excited. Unbreakable was my favorite for a long time.
Right.
It probably still is. I mean, I like superheroes, so obviously,
right. And that was such a dark movie too.
It's awesome.
And I remember the score was great.
Oh yeah, well that's what at the end of the movie, like I started fist pumping when I heard the score, the new one, because I was like, oh my god, like that's what this is.
Yep.
And everybody else kind of like, the girlfriend had never seen Unbreakable, unfortunately. No. But like everyone else in the theater was still waiting, and I was already, this is in the Unbreakable. Like,
right. You were on cloud 9 at that point.
Right.
The thing that I think I'm maybe most excited for, or I wish I was like a fly on the wall for this filming, simply because Sam Jackson, when he was going out and he was promoting Django Unchained back in 2012,
sure,
he had an interview with Huffington Post, and they were sort of asking him about all these directors that he's worked with. And at that point, Shyamalan hadn't done the,
he was making piles of shit. At that point,
he hadn't.
Right?
Yeah, he hadn't done his Resurgence, which was basically just Split.
No, hold on. There was another movie.
Yeah, I can't remember what the.
God damn it, what was it called? But there was another movie where basically it was these kids visiting their
grandparents.
The Visit.
Yeah,
The Visit.
That's
Did you
what
see
it was.
that one?
I didn't see that one. I heard it was all right though.
It was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah. Sam Jackson during that time, he sort of went off a little bit on Shyamalan. So they asked him about the Unbreakable. He's like, there were supposed to be 3. I don't know. You'll have to ask the brilliant director who wrote it and didn't direct the rest of them. And then he goes on to say, I don't know. He hasn't made a good movie since Unbreakable.
Oh, Jesus.
And then he went on to say, I mean, this is great. I love the fact that he worked with him after saying these things out in public. But he goes, and there's, and he's talking about Shyamalan here. And there's, I'm smarter than everybody that watches my movies. Quentin's not like that. He's just, I want you to love my movie. I want you to love it and enjoy it because it's fucking cool. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like,
that's pretty
what
good.
was day one on that set like?
Well, I mean, to an extent, Shyamalan's got to see that and go like, he's right. I made a bunch of shitty stuff.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of funny.
I mean, I think Sam Jackson can get away with it because he's Sam Jackson.
Right.
But
yeah, Sam Jackson can say whatever he wants really at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of wonder too, I'm like, did those statements maybe hit home a little bit and maybe that's why he sort of started doing better? I don't know. I mean, maybe it contributed.
Hopefully, maybe we have Sam Jackson to thank for the Unbreakable sequels.
Right. It's pretty cool to me. Maybe I'll use that Movie Pass for that sequel. No. If Movie Pass is still around at that point.
Yeah, that's the big news this month. Movie Pass. So so there were a few changes now. So for new members, they only get 4 movies per month. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm grandfathered in for another 10 months on the Costco pay for a full year plan.
Right.
So I get unlimited movies until that's over because they can't. Because they charge monthly on that.
Well, I was going to say, I heard that in the terms of service, they actually put a clause in there saying that they reserve the right to alter the deal.
So that's where, I read an article about that, so that's where I'm confused. Because yes, that's true. But they're charging you month to month. So your deal wouldn't be altered until your next payment, I would assume.
Right,
now,
I would hope so.
I paid up front. Mm-hmm. For a year, so I don't get charged again until next February.
Right.
So I think I should be good. But here's the other thing: there's still conflicting information regarding whether or not they are going to 4 movies a month, because this is a thing with iHeartRadio right now, mm-hmm. where it's like a 3-month period for $30, mm-hmm. and you get 4 movies a month. Now they are losing money like crazy.
Yeah,
and I can see why. Mm-hmm. But they have not officially announced, to all you other Movie Pass people, so we can all cross our fingers here, they haven't officially announced whether or not that's going to be a permanent thing. And the other thing is, I mean, I I would gladly pay $30 a month if it gave me unlimited tickets. So if there's other options that they come out with,
right?
I mean, even if it's only 4 movies a month, I'm gonna keep it because it's $10 a month for 4 movies a month. You know,
right? Well, and here's the thing, though, you're the rarity. I mean, we are the ones who go and see.
We're the ones who are losing them money.
Right,
People
absolutely,
like us.
Absolutely. Everybody else, you know, it's like, oh, I meant to go and see a movie this weekend. I just didn't, you know. Other people have lives.
Now, the other thing that happened this month to me was just last week, I got an email saying that the app has been updated, and now when I buy a ticket to a movie, I have to take a picture of the stub and send it to them through the app. Because because the way it works is they don't know what movie you're seeing based on the credit card statement. Because if you go see a movie at like, you know, AMC or whatever, it's just going to say like AMC Theaters. $12.
Right.
So theoretically, you can go in and you can check in any movie you want and buy a ticket for any other movie that you want, so long as it's the same price. But now they're going to start
tracking it.
Right. So that's interesting. And then what else did they say? But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it's no multiple movies, multiple screenings of the same movie.
Right, and they did that just in the nick of time.
Right,
they?
yeah, exactly.
Because people going to see Avengers 35 fucking times for free?
I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, neither do I.
So with all these changes, do you think this is actually going to hurt their business model? Do you think they're going to be around in a year or 2 years from now with this?
I have no idea what they're doing. Like, honestly, they've got like a whole data selling thing they've got going on. They talk about how they want to be in with some of the theaters to like share on concession revenue and stuff.
Right.
And I mean, they do have a point. I mean, if they're saying 5% of moviegoers have these things now, and they keep building it, if, you know, I mean, let's say if they take it away, I'm going to see less movies. I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
Now the question's going to be like to me, what would have been genius about this is, okay, now we've hooked them with the $10 a month thing. Yeah. Now let's admit that we can't make money on this, and we'll have different tiered options.
Right.
Because I wouldn't even care. That's worth it to me. That makes sense. I don't care. Right. I mean, I love paying 10, but
right. Well, and it makes sense from a business standpoint doing what they're doing. I do know that they're losing their parent company. Like, I think the last quarter they lost them like $120 million.
Yeah,
or something
and
like
they
that.
say that they have plans for this. Like, apparently, like companies like Netflix weren't very solvent at first either.
Absolutely.
And this guy apparently the like, I think I can't remember if he works for the company that bought MoviePass, but basically he says a lot of people said the same things to him when he was running other businesses, and I think Netflix was one of them that he was involved in heavily.
Okay.
And he's not worried about it, but we'll see.
I'll
tell you what, if it goes to 4 movies a month, I'm going to be upset for a minute. But then if they all of a sudden say, okay, you can go to 8 for $20 a month, I mean, okay, I'm out an extra $10, but I'm not usually going to see more than 8 movies a month, so I don't really care.
I think that's the future of it. I think that's inevitable, what you're talking about. The thing that scares me is there was a movie, I can't remember what movie it was, but it was a few weeks back, and they chose to not put it on MoviePass.
Red Sparrow.
Yeah, Red Sparrow. And the thing that's really scaring me about that is it's almost like blackmailing now. You might be blackmailing the studios. You might be like, what if it's a small budget indie film?
I mean, I agree, but then again, it's like, you know what? Like, once there's enough people, like, I mean, I don't feel bad for these theaters or studios either because they've been dicking people over on concession prices and movie ticket prices for years. I mean, like, you go in there and you could spend on 2 bags of candy and a thing of popcorn and 2 sodas, you can spend like $25.
Right.
So I don't feel so bad for them. Like, I mean, it's a private company. If you want to see Red Sparrow, pay for it yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not so much concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is sort of this. Now it's a new cost for studios to have.
Right.
And that concerns me a little bit because this sort of like shakedown of them.
Well, I was thinking, like, how the hell, like, why when I load up the app, I should get a movie trailer.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Right.
But
and it's a genius way. You're going literally directly to people who go see movies.
Right. Well, I think the big thing is I think the studios still aren't on board with this.
They're kind of pissed about it. Yeah. Whatever.
So I don't think they even want to use it as I think they want to see it fail.
So
ultimately.
I've gotten a few promotional emails that are repping specific movies.
Okay.
So that happens pretty much weekly, I would say. Like there's some, and I'm assuming the studios are paying for that. But you know what? They're idiots if they don't use that, because that's like,
right.
It's making it affordable for your average Joe to go see more movies.
Right. Another thing that might be changing movies as we know them is there's a Choose Your Own Adventure interactive film being developed by Fox right now.
I don't know if I have any desire for that.
Right. I don't even know how the fuck that would work.
No, it's stupid, because you're like half of a movie is you saying like, oh god damn it, why the hell did he do that? You know what I'm saying?
What do you do? Do you walk into the next theater? Well, I chose B. Well, so you walk to a new theater?
It can't be in a theater.
Yeah.
It can't be in a theater. It's got to be like a home video thing.
Yeah.
Like an interactive Netflix thing.
Right.
We've seen video games that do this, right? I mean, we've seen like the old Sega CD games were all basically like movies that you pressed a certain button to go like right or left.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you've heard of the 4D theaters where they like
correct. I've never been to one.
I haven't either. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Like Infinity War would have been amazing in 4D.
Or like something scary where something like slithers against your feet or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a moment. Remind me of this later, because there was a moment where the AC kicked in Infinity War, and it timed with what was happening on screen. That was pretty cool.
They did it on purpose.
But yeah, I mean, I'm like, if what we're saying is true and it's some sort of Netflix at home thing, why? Like, it's not it's not as immersive as a theater screen. You don't have the great sound system, or at least not everybody has a sound system like you.
They'll try. Thank you, Alex. It made me feel good about myself. No, why not? They'll try it. Go ahead. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, but that doesn't appeal to me.
Right. Well, and I also look at it as like, okay, so if it's a choose your own adventure, you could do 2 options and maybe people wouldn't feel cheated. 3 options is probably optimal for it. Does that mean you have to shoot parts of a film 3 times?
You have to shoot 3 different scenes depending on...
Right. That's just increasing your budget.
I mean, it depends on how... If it's really complex, you'll have to basically shoot 3 movies.
Right. Or that's what I was thinking. I was like, what if one takes you on a mountaintop, one takes you to a river, and one takes you to outer space?
Right. Yeah.
All of a sudden, your costs are...
It's not going to be a very expensive movie.
Right.
I can't imagine.
Well, and they're certainly not going to put that in on some sort of, thing like this, unless James Cameron was doing it.
Well, he would just make it an epic family-oriented adventure.
Well, each one would have their own corporate asshole.
Yeah, oh, sure. Maybe you get to be the corporate asshole.
Oh, that would be... I'm on board for that.
Yeah, there you go.
You get to be Paul Reiser in Aliens?
Yeah, there you go. Right. Perfect. Anything else you got?
By the way, Cameron, you can suck it.
Yeah, well, that's what's funny, too. Like, fuck you, James. Yeah.
Right. There's this. A Quiet Place, they're working on a sequel.
Sweet. Do we know anything about it?
We don't.
Okay. Well,
this can go any...
Is John Krasinski doing?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
All they know is that the writers are working on it.
Okay. So hopefully it's good.
Hopefully it's good. Okay, so the questions in this universe that are only interesting is where do they come from and how is the rest of the world doing? That's kind of like all that's really interesting.
You're going a different place than me on this.
Okay.
I think you do someone else, a different family.
Yeah, but if it's just the same, we're in a quiet situation.
Suppose, yeah.
So,
or you just stay with Emily Blunt and the kids, and like, I don't know, who knows?
I mean,
it's got to be something.
That's maybe a little bit more interesting because maybe they are the first ones that figured out how to beat him, and that might be a slightly more interesting story. But it's not like it's nothing we haven't seen before, and also you're getting into a new territory, which is like, let's go out and share our information with people, and then it becomes. I think we got
to see a cast before we know anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I have this severe aversion to everything becoming a franchise because that is a great standalone movie. I watched the end of it and I said, I don't need to see anymore. That is a great ending.
Right, but I mean, it's your own fault if you let shitty sequels ruin an original.
I'm not absolutely, and I'm not saying it would ruin it. I'm saying why?
Money.
Exactly, and I hate that as a fucking reason. I just do. Fundamentally, I hate.
Well, that's why you have movies. That big movie you saw this
weekend. But what about the art?
All about money.
What about the art,
it's
Jackson?
Art for the sake of making money.
Right. No, you're right.
So,
you're right. It's artistic commerce.
Right.
Which is fine. I just I think that there's a pendulum as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing A Quiet Place sequel, but if it sucks, whatever. But hopefully they kind of have a plan.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it turns out.
Right.
But you want to go into Avengers Infinity War? We're going to do spoiler free first.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah, what would you give it out of 10? You've seen it twice.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. I liked it a lot. Everyone should go see it. I feel like my score might be a little bit biased in a sense though, because I'm just so impressed by what they did.
Right.
If you haven't seen the other movies or all of them.
Right. This is not nonsense to you.
Right. That's the problem. That's one of the problems with it, I think.
But I'm not sure if that's really a problem.
No.
Because it's kind of like a TV series. It's like you don't show up at the season finale.
Correct.
And fuck you if you do that.
Correct. So yeah, I kind of see this as a love letter to their fans.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the way I see this. And as that, it's the only thing like it that I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
So there's never been anything like it. It deserves all of the accolades it gets. I don't understand how it's only got like an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sorry, but this is better than Black Panther. It's better than Spider-Man.
Yep.
It's
better than Guardians 2.
Yeah, it's better. It's better than Ragnarok. I'm sorry, or maybe maybe it's not. It's better.
They're really tough because it's okay. I'm just going to give my rating to. I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well. I fluctuate on it, maybe being a 9.5. That's fucking doesn't matter. But
it's not a 9.5.
It's probably not.
But you feel like it's a 9.5,
but the
right?
way it made me feel
right.
when I was in that theater, unlike anything that I've ever experienced.
Yeah, no, I really, really liked it.
I was
the plot,
so impressed.
Basically, the plot is, and not going into spoilers, this is the plot. There have been all these Infinity Stones that have been introduced in certain creative ways through different characters through the 18 or 19 movies that came before.
Yeah.
And there's a villain who they've kind of built up for a while. You haven't really known anything about him.
Right.
But if he gets all 6 of these, something bad is going to happen. That's the plot.
Basically, yeah.
And now you have, like, I don't even know how many characters, but all the characters you can think of from Avengers, minus Jeremy Renner and Paul Rudd, basically, are all, doing different things regarding these different stones to try and prevent him from getting them.
Yep.
I think that's a fair synopsis that doesn't give away too much.
And
right?
the Guardians of the Galaxy show up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great synopsis. Very concise.
Yeah, there you go. That's the movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good.
There's great humor in it, though in the spoiler section, I will go into that a little bit. I know Alex and I might disagree on a couple things.
Yeah, it's dark where it needs to be, and it gets really dark at points.
Now you're going into spoiler territory. I wasn't even going to go there.
Well, I'm just saying, you talked about the humor. I'm also going to give it the flip side because I don't want people to go in and think, oh, it's a fucking comedy again.
Right.
Because it's not. This is maybe their darkest movie yet.
I would agree. It is.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's dark, but it's also humorous when it wants to be. And it's more often than not very appropriate with where the humor is placed. More often than not.
Yeah. Sure.
And if you're a fan of the series, there is still a little bit of character work that's done in this. Not a ton. Not everybody has an arc.
I would say that the best thing about this movie
is Thanos.
Is the fact that they're done with exposition. The only exposition I can think of from this movie really involves either the plot of this movie.
Right.
Or the villain, because he's the only one we don't know.
Right.
So there's not any time wasted, really, with any of the characters we already know, because we're already attached or we're not to these characters. Exactly. So when they get into a fight, we don't even need to, like, we care because we've been watching them for 10 years, not because of anything introduced in this movie.
Right. Get on the fucking train or get out of the fucking way.
Right.
And
so, yeah.
I mean, and it's breakneck speed. I mean, holy shit. Yeah, they just start out and...
It might be the quickest 2 hour and 40-minute movie I've ever watched.
Yeah, it did not feel its length at all.
No.
Blown away.
And see it in IMAX.
Right.
If you have an IMAX near you, see
absolutely.
it
on IMAX. I mean, this is must. I mean, you know, Jackson's big on this. It was the first movie that was ever shot in IMAX. Fully.
100%, right.
Which is, and you can tell.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They took yeah, it's weird because you see some of this sort of like promotional material and you can sometimes tell that people are lying about shit. They were pretty damn honest about a lot of things in this promotional material.
They were 100% honest. I mean, the whole thing was filmed with IMAX cameras. Yeah. It's great.
Well, and it wasn't just, oh, hey, we did it in IMAX and we did it because more money and we can sell it like that. I feel like they actually utilized the format really well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a perfect movie for it. So
yeah, just floored. I can't even be objective about this movie.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing you guys have to keep in mind, folks, is Alex, he loves Marvel.
Yeah, this is like I said, I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. I mean, I had the nerd tears. I was glad I was not sitting next to you.
And you know what? I love Marvel too, not as much as you.
Right.
But I'm excited when there's a Marvel movie coming out.
Right.
And I did not leave Age of Ultron pleased.
Right.
I must say.
Right. Oh, I think that was maybe the lowest point for Marvel. Well, I mean, I think Phase 2 was a really weak phase. Iron Man 3 was pretty weak. Thor: The Dark World was pretty weak. The only two bright spots I feel were Cap 2 and Guardians.
Sure. Now, was Ant-Man Phase 3 or was that Phase 4?
That was Phase 2.
Phase 2. Yeah. Okay.
So technically, that's still part of what I'm talking about, but I find Ant-Man incredibly mediocre after multiple
I kind of liked Ant-Man.
It's fine.
I like Doctor Strange a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see their movies. Well, it's funny because they're, when I leave a Marvel movie, like, kind of like disappointed, it means that it was just pretty good.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it was a pile of shit, typically.
Yeah. No, I don't think they've ever done anything even close to a pile of shit.
The only thing that has made me annoyed to the point of being angry was the Ben Kingsley reveal in Iron Man 3.
Yeah. So go into spoilers.
Spoilers.
Holy shit. Like everybody's dead.
Yeah, half of the planet or half of the universe is dead.
Yeah.
Now
that's amazing.
Now that's what's interesting about the movie is that's what's good about it is finally like a bunch of people died. Now my problem is at the end where you're upset and sad. I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, how are they going to bring all these people back? Because I don't buy it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like one thing I wanted to tell you when I watched your Home at the Movies review, which is up on YouTube.
Thank you for the
plug.
Home
with a B.
Thank you for the plug.
Was I was far more, and you're probably going to give me shit about this. I was far more emotionally affected by the end of Guardians 2 because I know Michael Rooker is gone.
Right.
And that was really well done. Whereas this one, I mean, Spider-Man, it's really upsetting to see him like, I'm sorry, Tony, or whatever, get all and die. But it's damn well this means nothing.
See, and that's the thing. Is like there's the cynical, jaded side of me that is much like you right now. And there's that part of me is like, motherfucker, Black Panther just made $1.35 billion. They're not killing him.
Yeah.
But I'm also sitting here and I'm like, when Peter is saying, I don't want to go, and he's just a 16-year-old kid.
It's a great character bit.
Like I fucking lost it.
Yeah, but for me, I'm just like, okay, well, he'll be back next movie.
Right. I think because it's really tough because you look at it and you're like, well, there's no fucking way. But at the same time, you're like, but that's really ballsy.
So my point would be that you kill a couple characters. But the problem is it doesn't fit with the plot because you're killing half of the universe. Right. So at least half of the Avengers have to die.
And it feels very thematically relevant because of the whole like rich, poor, doesn't matter. Half.
No, and the way it was done, like the scene, like the eeriness of it, and how creepy it was.
Like basically all the music gets cut out.
Right.
and it's just them fading away into the wind.
I love how we just go straight into the ending.
Right. Well, I mean,
it is the most. It's the crazy. It's the part of the movie that is the most impactful, right?
Right.
I mean,
right. I mean, there are a lot of parts that really got me in this movie, as far as like pump your fist, you're fucking into it. But that was the moment where you're just like, they really fucking went there.
Right. Well, they didn't though. They didn't though.
Well, I think the thing is that what it's going to be is, what's really going to matter is what happens in the next one.
It's a bait and switch because these people died, but they're coming back, and somebody or multiple people are going to be done with this franchise and quit.
Right, and that's where I'm at is, because you can't let the heroes let half of the universe die. That's just an unacceptable proposition for your series. So something has to happen, but there has to be sacrifice. You can't just have everybody come back and that's the end of it. I'm hoping at the bare minimum Cap and Tony are gone.
You think they're both going to be gone?
I think they both have to be gone thematically. I think it's an amazing ending. Tony's just getting married, going to have a kid, or wants to have a kid, and then he dies. Cap, a man who can never fully acclimate to the time he's in, he's just like the quintessential tragic hero. And to have him die, but I think it would be great if actually all of the original Avengers die, sacrificing themselves.
Wouldn't be great, because I don't give a fuck enough about the rest of them, so I'll just be pissed. I'm serious.
Okay, not all of them. Hawkeye and Black Widow can stick around.
Oh, great. I actually like Hawkeye quite a bit. I thought Black Widow was the only one in this movie that I feel like was kind of not as important as the rest. Like, as far as something to do.
I think that's a fair assessment. Well, her and Cap. I feel like her and Cap really don't have much.
That's true, I suppose, yeah.
And the writers have come out and said, everybody that didn't get a moment in this one is really going to get some real screen time in the next.
Which is just those two. I feel like everyone else got one.
That's true, yeah.
I mean...
Well, and then there's the addition of Hawkeye, who wasn't in it, and Ant-Man.
And even Cap got one. I mean, he showed up to save the day. He got the big applause
He got some good shit. Yeah. I'm not going to... As a Cap fan, I'm pretty stoked for what they gave him. That moment where he and Black Panther, because of their physically enhanced abilities, run out into the face of those... I think they were called Outriders was the name of those aliens.
Yeah, the creepy fucks, yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
I love the look of those things, by the way, even though it's just another faceless army for them to fight.
It's their best, like, bullshit army thing they've done in any of these movies.
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to that part where they're trying to get through the force field and they're killing themselves.
The Phantom Menace scene?
Yeah, the Phantom Menace scene. Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's a giant force field dome. You can't not have the flashbacks.
Like the green, the way they were lying, I thought it was funny. I was just sitting there like, this is a Phantom Menace scene, and then there's like, I'm sure there's multiple things going on,
right?
You know,
but it was
funny
still
though,
really...
because in the Phantom Menace it's a mess.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, there's multiple things going on. And it's not a mess,
and you care about the characters,
right?
And I think it's Phantom Menace, but done well.
Correct.
The ending was
ending was great.
Yes.
I just wasn't emotionally affected by it.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, this is really sad that they're all dying.
Right.
But I can't, like, cry because I know what this is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think the only one that really got me as far as
Spider-Man
is Spider-Man.
Well, they gave him the look and the moment where he's like, he's just a kid.
Like that just
and
breaks
Tony's sitting there like feeling partially responsible for this because he dragged him into it, basically.
Yep. He's devastated. Right. Yeah.
Now, what's funny is all of this is only happening because of Star-Lord. And if he was alive, that would have been interesting to see how he deals with having caused this.
Right. The thing about the whole, like, it's Star-Lord's fault, I sort of wonder if it is, because Doctor Strange says, I saw 14 million.
Right, but if Star-Lord was awake, he wouldn't realize that. You know, or alive, he wouldn't realize that. I mean, he's not going to think to himself like, oh, well, I'm not going to feel bad about this because Doctor Strange obviously knew.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we know.
Right.
But it would have been interesting to see how he took it, in that they had the fucking thing off of his hand.
Right. See, and that's sort of what I mean, is like, I wonder, like, okay, so they get it away from him in one of the universes. There had to have been one where he didn't freak out and ruin it. But that means in every single universe, even if they got away from it away from him in that moment, he still got it back.
Wait a minute. So these other universes that this is different universes Doctor Strange is visiting, or is it just different possibilities?
Different possible
outcomes. So it's
outcomes.
the same universe. It's just different outcomes that he's imagining, correct?
Well,
like this isn't playing out anywhere else, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, the thing is about comics is they literally, it's a multiverse.
Yeah, you can make up whatever. Right.
Yeah. So
sure.
there are universes where Captain America's,
a Nazi
or Nazi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, they just did that recently.
Yeah. There you go.
I
mean, that's a great idea.
It is kind of a great idea. But yeah.
But no, that was one thing I thought was a cool bit, was the fact that like Doctor Strange, he didn't give that stone to Thanos because he wanted to save Tony. He gave it to him because he knows that this is the only way.
And Tony has to be alive for it because
Correct.
he plays an important part in whatever one that they actually win.
Right.
So yeah, that was great, and that feeds into what you're saying too about you really can't wait to see the next one.
Oh, I cannot wait. By the way, can we talk about how awesome Doctor Strange was in this?
Right.
I mean, he was fucking great. He's the prick. Yep. That's what I liked about him in the movie. It wasn't even that the movie was great. It was just like, oh, we have a Marvel hero who's kind of a prick.
Yeah.
And he treats people like shit.
Well, and there was... Okay, so if you go online, there are people who hate the Marvel Universe, and they're like, Doctor Strange is just Tony Stark. It's just the same exact movie.
No.
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, watch this movie and watch their interactions. They are vastly different characters.
No, Doctor Strange is a prick. Now, they don't get along because, like, Tony's kind of a prick, too, but he's a different style of prick.
Right, absolutely.
Tony's not, like, abrasive. He's sarcastic. Doctor Strange just treats you like shit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like you.
Yeah.
That's how he acts.
He's just aggravated.
Right. He's not trying to be funny, typically. I mean, he does have a couple jokes, but
it's kind of one of those things where it's like one guy thinks that they're more important, and one guy knows that they're more important.
Right.
He's the guy who knows.
Yeah, right. It was really good. But back to the ending, though. As far as the ending is concerned, my favorite thing in the movie is Thanos sitting and watching the sunrise.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that's the best thing in the movie. With that look of peace on his face. Yeah. That he knows what he has done has saved the universe.
Right. Well, I think the thing that I really love about it is they were not lying. The writers went out and said, like, Thanos is actually the main character of this movie.
He's absolutely the main. He's the only character. Now, this might be, I could be wrong looking back, but I believe from what I remember, having seen it twice, he's the only character they really take time and develop, other than Gamora, just because she's involved in his story.
Yep. There's a little bit of Gamora development, there's a little bit of Star-Lord development, and there's a little bit of Thor development. But it's mostly just Thanos. Yeah, but they're all lesser. I'm not saying that anybody gets a close.
The Thor and Star-Lord development is literally just like a conversation where they just, like, for 2 seconds, somebody mentions something that you've already seen happen in the other movies, right?
I think so, but I think there's also this sort of, with Thor, I think he really goes on sort of an adventure about, well, not an adventure, but he goes sort of on a journey about, this is him testing, like, all that he ever knows, because he knows that, yeah, I'm the god of thunder, and I learned that the power is inside me all along, but my people have always relied on great weapons, and if I can't do it with a great weapon, then what am I? And what else do I have to lose if this doesn't work? What am I without these things that make me me?
I mean, or you could just see it as he doesn't have his hammer and he needs a fucking weapon to kill this fucker.
Right. Well, I think that's the nice thing about his little arc is
that's so great, though. The fact that him and Rocket are going on an adventure.
God.
How random.
What he calls him, Tiny Rabbit.
And it's great.
Tiny Rabbit. Yeah. I love that bit. Hemsworth, when he's got to recite those lines about all that he's lost.
Yeah. But it was funny.
It was funny, and he fucking... Well, I think the thing that's great about it is some people have a serious problem with how Thor was represented in Ragnarok. They're like, oh, he's just a fucking idiot, and he's just a joke machine now. And I'm like, one, it's pretty fucking great. So
I'm sorry, but his other movies were boring, and they sucked in comparison to the rest of them. They're fine.
Right.
They're fine.
Right.
But they needed to do this with Thor.
But with this one, they took that persona and they also made it seem like it's a persona that he actually intentionally builds up.
Right.
And I'm like, that is genius. You instantly layered a character and made an explanation for a retcon within your own series. That's genius.
But it's Thanos' movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you finally have like a Marvel villain, and I know a lot of people really liked Michael B. Jordan or whatever in Black Panther. He was a good villain.
He was I think he's very obviously the third best villain now in their series.
Yeah, he's one of the better villains, but this one was the best, in my opinion. I mean, the guy, it was so good.
It was just really
the
good.
fact that he won, and that scene of him sitting there, because if anybody's seen it, hopefully, either you don't care,
right,
or you're still listening because you've seen it. But the fact, that's just he literally accomplishes his goal.
Yeah,
he's going to sit and watch the sunrise, knowing that he has saved all these people.
Yep.
And the whole point of his backstory being that, he had warned his planet about the fact that there was overpopulation and this isn't good. I've got an idea. Let's just kill half the population at random. He's psychotic. He's nuts.
He's got a little bit of a Zod thing going on. I tried to save my home world.
Totally, yes.
But I'm all right with that because it's a good, nice, broad sort of backstory.
No, it's perfect. It was fantastic. He was better than Zod was in Man of Steel. And I actually, if Man of Steel and Zack Snyder got one thing right, I actually liked Zod.
Yeah,
because he was another one of those characters where you kind of understand what his motivation is.
And you could go dark and it was appropriate with his character.
Right. Well, plus Michael Shannon's just
Michael
awesome.
Shannon is the fucking man.
Right. So, but I thought Thanos was fantastic. I mean, the way it started with just, him choking out Loki and killing him. I mean, that's your past villain. There you go. There's your example.
You imagine seeing that with like an 8-year-old though?
Oh yeah, it's nuts. Okay, so hold on. You said what's his name was the third best villain. What's his name?
Kilgrave.
Okay.
Or no, Killmonger. Sorry.
Killmonger. Yeah. So he's your third favorite. Who's your second?
I'd say Loki.
So you just watched the basically the top of the food chain has changed,
right,
as far as Marvel villains go,
right,
and it's literally you watch your number one villain get choked to death.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. Is like I really like Thanos a lot, and I think that Thanos is he's way more intimidating, and he's as layered, but he's way more intimidating. So he's actually maybe a better villain in that regard than Loki.
Sure,
but I love the tragic nature of Loki, and there's a lot of tragedy with Thanos for sure. Like when he has to kill Gamora, that's a great scene.
Oh, it's amazing. It's the scene at the end with him sitting watching the sunrise and him throwing his daughter off the cliff were the two best scenes.
When you realize that, like, I think most kids want the approval of their parents,
right?
And to get that and to realize that you've always had your parents' love, and that's why you're going to die.
Yeah,
that's thematically amazing.
Well, it was amazing just watching her laugh at him, and you're sitting there knowing exactly what he's about to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Or when she stabbed him I think Zoe Saldana fucking knocked it out of the park.
She always does. She's good. I like her.
I like her. I like her a lot, but I feel like in the second Guardians, I feel like I don't think she had a whole lot going on in that one.
Well,
I actually feel like
that's not on the actress necessarily.
I think it was the script. I don't think they gave her a whole lot to do in that one.
But this was, I mean, she was the main Guardian who was dealing with the
right. But yeah, when she stabbed him in the neck in the collector's scene.
Oh, when you thought she stabbed him in the neck.
Yeah.
In the fake scene.
And she's crying. I'm like, holy shit, this is...
Yeah, it was good.
This is layered as hell.
It was good. But the fact, when she knows that he has to throw something he loves off or he has to... I don't even think it's that, like... Basically, you need to give up something you love in order to get this stone.
A soul for
and
a
she
soul.
just starts laughing because she knows he doesn't love shit. He's just a piece of shit.
Yep.
Nope.
Right. That's great because it goes to what you're saying. He's a multi-layered villain.
Right.
Because they could have just...
So there's two kind of villains, then they both can work in different ways.
Right.
You've got this guy who's the guy you can kind of see his point of view.
Yep.
And then you've got like Heath Ledger's Joker.
Right, who's just a force of nature who is inconquerable.
He's mysterious, and that's what's cool about him, is because you know nothing about him, and he's a fucking psychopath. And in that one, it worked.
And in that regard, he can surprise you at any turn.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And
right.
And in this way, though, they still surprise you.
So yeah, I would say that this is my favorite comic book movie villain since him. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say he's better.
No.
That's two different things.
Right. I think that's very fair. Let's see.
Can we just talk about Giant Dinklage for a second?
Oh, loved it.
How genius.
Loved it.
Whoever wrote the script and was just, all right, well, we're going to write this part for Peter Dinklage.
Yep.
I mean, it's just fucking hilarious. But
I love Peter Dinklage in it. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Just the fact that Peter Dinklage showed up as a giant Tyrion Lannister, basically.
Well, and he sold it all, too. The whole, like, you know... I told him I'd build a weapon for him, and then he killed everyone anyways. Like, that was great. Yeah. I felt the character's pain instant. I'm like, and maybe it's just because it's Peter Dinklage, but I'm like, I've known you for a grand total of 30 seconds, and I already like your character.
Well, yeah, you liked him as soon as you saw it was Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I also love... I mean, I could gush about this movie all day. I love the line that he has with Thor. He's like, you're going to take the full brunt of a star that's going to kill you, boy. And he's like, not if I die. And he's like, yes, that's what killing you means.
Yeah, that was the best line he had. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that was the best line he had. Now, let's stop gushing for a second.
Okay.
Couple things I didn't like.
All right.
Okay. We kind of touched on the humor. Now, I didn't think it was perfect. Now, this is like total fucking nitpick.
Right.
Really bad nitpick. But there were times where it's like, I kind of want to be sad for a second. You know, I want to like feel this. And then there's all of a sudden you cut to the Guardians or something and you can't help but laugh.
Can you remember the moment that you're thinking of?
I mean, fucking Loki getting choked to death. I mean, there had to have been a joke within 30 seconds of Loki being choked to death. It's just felt that way throughout the movie.
Oh, what it was Loki gets choked to death. Everybody's sad. Then we end up on Earth and Hulk crashes into the sanctum.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So, but then they go to a joke with Pepper and Tony.
But my point, it's not specific things. It's just a feel. It's a feel for the movie.
You had that thing about they tried to switch tones a little too quickly for you.
And honestly, I didn't care too much because I just had so much fucking fun with the movie.
Right.
But if you wanted me to be like sad and somber about some of this stuff, you know, and honestly, it's a huge nitpick bullshit thing to be upset about. I wasn't upset about it.
That's not your biggest nitpick, though. I know what your biggest nitpick is.
Let's hear it. Let's see.
Hulk.
Hulk. Oh yeah. Well, Hulk sucked. I'm sorry.
Right.
He sucked. The fucking cheesy bullshit dialogue or erectile dysfunction thing going on.
So we've always known Hulk is like the strongest. It's Thor and Hulk. That's it.
Right.
And Thanos kicks the shit out of him in the first like 2 minutes of the movie.
So he's like embarrassed to come out.
Right. And I kind of love that because it's something that we've never seen we've never seen the Hulk scared before. And that's an interesting dynamic.
So, okay. So I guess my problem with it is I don't like it when Bruce Banner, just ever since he could control when the Hulk comes out. I don't like that concept.
Right.
And I get it. You got to take the character different places, whatever.
Right.
But I only got one real Hulk movie here.
Right.
And by the time I saw him again, all of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde tragedy of the Hulk was gone.
Well,
in my opinion,
he's not. It's not gone because in the original Avengers, there's the two versions of the Hulk. There's the mindless one that comes out when he doesn't have control of the transformation, and there's the one
that's true at the end.
And I like that because I do like the idea that he can still lose control. And it's just the Hulk, and it still is the Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's much more jokey and less.
Exactly. It's not as much about like this is sad that this guy has to deal with this fucking problem.
Right. And I think you're right. I also think that at some point you can't have the character continue to be broody McBruderton if that's all he's ever been.
Sure.
Like,
it didn't do anything for me.
Right. And I don't think you're wrong about it. Like, at the end of the day, it didn't bother me, but the Hulk has never been my favorite character.
See, and he was my favorite.
Right.
So he's still fun to watch when he's the Hulk, but guess what? He wasn't in this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The Hulk he was in it at the beginning, the first scene. And we're going to see him in the next one, I would imagine, and it's going to be great.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean,
right.
He's one of those characters who actually did have he had the beginnings of a character arc in this one, and the rest of his character arc will be finished in the next.
Yep, that's fair.
Which is, I think, one of the criticisms. If you're going to criticize the movie, that's one of the ones where you can actually fairly criticize it. Is didn't finish all the arcs it started.
Well, the best movie ever made is The Empire Strikes Back. It doesn't finish every arc.
Exactly. So I mean, at some point, it's kind of tough when you're grading a serialized series to be like, oh well, it didn't finish everything. Well, does it have to?
No. It doesn't. Oh, my last problem with the movie, other than the tone thing, would be the like we already talked about it. Just the fact that you wanna create stakes. I still don't feel like there are real stakes here. Or this, I feel like they're gonna kill someone next time. Like, so maybe that's where I should take the stakes from. But I don't feel like they did this brave fucking thing by killing all these characters off. It's still Marvel. They're still all coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they had all the sizzle but no steak.
Right. Yes. That's perfect.
That's a podcast joke.
That's
people.
A perfect use of that. What? That's a joke.
That's what I would call a joke.
Lots of sizzle.
Yep. Yeah, I still feel like the stakes are there because I feel like the stakes will actually cost something in the next movie.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And
let's hope there's real death in the next one.
Right.
Well, do we know? I mean, I would assume Gamora's coming back. I'm going to make that assumption.
So my theory is that anybody who was killed before the finger snap is dead.
Okay, my theory is Gamora's the exception to that. It's interesting, too, because there is a scene where he either is imagining, like, I would assume it's like him imagining a conversation with young Gamora at the end.
Right.
But who's to say that's not, like, inside some fucking soul stone thing? And she's in there.
Right.
She's caught in there, her soul. So,
yeah,
there you go.
I mean, Red Skull. Are you kidding me?
Well, and it was funny because I told you afterwards, I'm like, he was cooler in that 3-minute scene than he was in the entire movie he
absolutely
was the villain in.
And it wasn't even Hugo Weaving.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yep. Hugo Weaving is a douche as well. He is too cool to be in the Marvel movies or Transformers at this point.
But I mean, fine, whatever. It's fine.
The new guy's fine too.
Yeah, he did a great job. Character was cooler than he's ever been. I have no idea how he's living on that mountaintop.
He's doing nothing. He's sitting there doing nothing. It's great.
Okay, so let's talk about...
Hold on. Do we know that no one else has come there and like not been willing to give up the thing that they love most to get the stone? I mean,
he does say that, what is it? Many think that they're willing to pay the price, but they aren't, something like that.
Yeah, so that's his role now, is he just like takes people
he's like he meets them halfway. He's like, "Hey, you have 15 steps left before you get there. Hold on, let me explain this thing to you now."
Yeah,
that was
it is pretty funny.
It was strange and it made no sense. I don't fucking care.
It kind of made sense.
I mean, it made sense because it made sense in that he teleported.
He went somewhere. Where is he? Where has he been?
I want to watch that fucking movie. I want to watch the Adventures of Red Skull in space now.
Hey, note to whoever's making the Masters of the Universe movie, something that looks like that.
Yeah, let's do that, but not with a red skull.
Right, just a regular skull.
Screening we went to.
Oh my God, I had a person to my left. I'm sorry, I have to interject.
Go ahead.
The person to my left, I watched your review and you mentioned people like gasping.
Yeah.
This fucking woman gasped at every time you would expect a gasp. Like, grabbed her boyfriend and said, "Oh my God," like every single moment and it didn't bother me too much just because I was enjoying the movie so much. But please, people, there are other people watching this movie with you.
I do love that the theater we went to, they clapped twice. And some of my favorite moments, too. Cap shows up for the first time, they clapped.
Right.
And then the other one was when Thor landed in Wakanda, which was maybe one of my favorite moments.
It was good, yeah. I mean, every moment was so good.
Rocket being spun around by Winter Soldier as they're both firing guns. That was amazing.
Yep, that was really good.
Thor and Cap. I mean, the thing is like this movie is nothing but moments. Like I've heard some people say it's basically just all third act.
It's nerd porn.
Yeah.
It is straight nerd porn.
Right, and I don't even give
That's
a
what's
fuck.
good about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got fanfare. It's got all the stuff that fans want, and plus the stuff they didn't even know they wanted.
Right, well, it's nerd porn, but it's not empty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, because like you said, all the heavy lifting has been done in the previous
Correct.
films. And so this is just, you like all the characters, and now let us introduce you to a great villain that you're also going to like.
I know I'm in the minority here, but I was more emotional and felt more upset for him in that scene where he tossed his daughter off than I was for anyone else in the movie, and I was happier for anyone else. I was happy for him at the end. I mean,
there it is.
The dude obviously has gone through some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He's a fucking lunatic.
Right.
I can't, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be, I have the thing that can do anything in the universe.
Right.
My first option to save the universe isn't to kill half the population.
Right.
That takes a real asshole.
But maybe I just increase the amount of food, or maybe just make people a little bit more sterile. Well,
right.
No, that's kind of mean. Maybe you just increase the amount of food.
Right. But yeah, no, that's not, you know what? He grew up, he's pissed because of what happened to him.
Yep.
Don't fuck around with him.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have gotten into this situation.
Yep.
Although I suppose they would have had to kill. Maybe it wasn't, that was the only option where he grew up though.
Right.
I mean, he didn't have this thing. He
right.
just said, this is my thing. I say we do this. Otherwise everyone's going to die. He was right.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
yeah, he was
right. There was no other solution there that we know of. So he's just taking this solution that would have worked for his planet.
Right. And he's applying it on a macro scale.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's
He was so fucking good. I can't say enough about him.
The motion capture was amazing.
Oh
too.
yeah, and just I felt so bad for him at moments.
Yeah.
I felt so good for him at the end.
I think the thing that I love is like when you're starting the movie, you see him and he kind of walks in and he's got this menacing entrance and he's very cold and he's very kind of what you would expect out of like a guy who looks like him.
I thought he was going to be I want power.
Yep.
And I'm going to destroy the universe.
And they completely fucked with you.
Right.
And I loved it. I loved it because I was like, they really knew what they were doing with him, with writing him in this way.
Well, yeah, they knew they had this villain. They've set up a bunch, and like I went in thinking like, okay, this is where the badass villain comes, and he's the most powerful.
Right.
I thought that was his allure.
Right.
But it's not. It's the fact that he's multifaceted as far as his personality is concerned, and you actually can understand where he's coming from to an extent. I mean, it's cheesy that he wants to kill half of all life.
Right.
This has been the main complaint about Marvel for a long time.
Yeah, don't know how to do more.
They have a lot of and to be fair, they have a lot of shit villains.
I think they have a lot of serviceable villains. None of them really are great, but they fill the purpose of the film that they're in.
Very one note. I mean, who gives a shit about the Guardians 1 villain, the purple guy, the other purple guy?
The blue one?
The blue guy. See,
here's the thing. I love that dude's performance.
Whatever.
Oh, by the way, that's a whole nother thing that ties into another thing. Post-credit scene. What did you think about that post-credit scene?
It was pretty good, but I don't know shit about Captain Marvel, so I really don't care. But it was cool, like the Fury thing with him.
Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker. Whatever he was about to say.
Yep. That was great.
Yeah.
I think it's genius marketing because that instantly becomes a must-see. But the interesting thing about, you're talking about the blue guy from Guardians, he's actually going to come back in Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Now, he's not. I don't think he's going to be the main villain. I don't think there's any chance in hell. And her movie is set in the 90s.
I knew that.
It's going to be interesting. We're going to have a young Sam Jackson. We're going to have a young Clark Gregg back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Coulson?
Coulson.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah.
That was probably the saddest. That was sadder. His death in the first Avengers got me more than anyone's in this. That's funny. Because I knew he was fucking dead.
Right.
I thought he was dead at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wasn't so like jaded by 19 fucking movies.
Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm blown away by this movie.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
I mean, it's one of those things.
It exceeded my expectations.
Yeah,
greatly.
Yeah, and I was expecting. I mean, people might remember from the last podcast. I was expecting, a lot of death. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Which you were right. It was great, and there was a lot of death.
Yeah, that was great too. Thanos will return.
Well, because they know he's the movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's the best part of the movie. He's the best. Okay, this is going to be quite the state. He's the best thing to happen in any of these movies. 19 movies in, he's the best aspect, period.
Oh, now you're trying to piss me off.
Sorry. I'm a villain guy.
Right.
I'm a villain guy.
Right.
Darth Vader is my favorite character of all time.
Damn.
Period. Far and away.
Even after the prequels? That didn't ruin any of that?
No, that's Anakin. That's a different guy.
Oh, okay.
No, Darth Vader's my favorite villain of all time. I'm a villain guy, and I did not expect how fucking awesome this Thanos character would be.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Let's show a little love to that little wizard fuck that he had as a henchman.
Yeah.
That guy was great. I kept on thinking to myself, like, God damn it, I wish that Snoke was this cool.
Right. Yeah, he was cool. I mean, even there was the girl one that he had.
The girl one looked really fake to me. That was the one that lost me a little bit.
She was the one that looked the most fake. But I also liked her line about, like, we have blood to spare.
That was good. But okay, so there we go. Back to this now. She looks the most human.
Right.
So she looks the most fake.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just if you're going to make a character look that human, just use a fucking human.
I loved the one that she was always paired with, the white skinny one with the hood. Like, that's how you make a fucking Green Goblin.
Yeah, he was great. Yep. No, and the best to me, and I've talked to multiple people who agreed with me, that little wizard fucker from the beginning, like the whole fight in New York City where he was like, it was like a chess match back and forth.
Yeah.
He was great.
He was amazing.
I want to see him more. It sucks he died, but
God, yeah, they were really great.
But I was sitting there literally, I thought to myself, like, wow, this guy reminds me of like a Star Wars character. He's like powerful with the Force. He's like throwing shit around, you know, fucking around. And I'm sitting, then I realized, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Instead we got they had, what's his name? Andy Serkis play this old bastard who sat in a fucking chair and did nothing.
Yeah, that was,
and he didn't do. It's not like his lines were great. It's not like his performance was great as far as, he's no fucking Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine. I'll tell you that right now. Honestly, give me a break with this fucking guy. And then all of a sudden you have Marvel come out with this movie made by the same company, and here's this little shithead who means nothing to anyone. He's just a useless throwaway character, and he's fucking great.
This is why The Last Jedi, to me, fails, is because the subversion of expectations came at the expense
of it being a good movie.
Yes, whereas this became the subversion of expectations in the other way, in that all these subversions actually made it a better movie.
The only thing that I would say subverted my expectations would have been the fact that I thought that fucking Thanos was just a hard ass motherfucker. Otherwise, nothing happened in it that I was like shocked by, because I had everybody kind of expected people to die, right?
Well, for me, the things that subverted my expectations, Thanos being as layered as he was.
Yes, that's the biggest one for me.
The heroes that died were not the ones that I thought would die. I did think the death was coming. The very fact that they decided to end it with Thanos winning, that's a ballsy move. I did not see that coming.
Don't think that's ballsy.
A villain winning?
It's a fucking part one. The best movies are the ones where the villains kind of win. So like Empire, the villains win, but I suppose...
They don't win on this kind of scale, though.
True.
Like this is like
true, but your hero gets his fucking hand chopped off,
right,
and it's pretty hopeless,
right. I mean, they effectively sort of create the same feeling,
right?
But this is on a grander scale, which that's what I mean. Is like he succeeded, and it's in a huge scale,
right? The rules are a little more bendable in this, though,
right? Yeah,
you know what I'm saying,
Yep.
like. Yeah, I mean, you can be a Force ghost.
Right.
There's a couple of those in Star Wars, but other than that,
this was like Lord of the Rings for me.
Like the Two Towers, kind of.
Yeah, because you're jumping around. Not everybody meets up.
Right.
It's a massive world with huge different locations.
I expected Thanos to win.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what else? If Thanos loses, what's the next movie?
Right. Well, and that was the thing is I was like, well, they changed the title. So it's no longer part 1, part 2. And so I was like, okay, well, you could technically beat him. And there are a bunch of ways that you could work around it because you've got a time stone. You've got all this reality warping shit. There are so many ways that you could write it where it's like, well, we stopped him, kind of.
Right. But you know what you just described?
Comic book nonsense that nobody wants to see?
That's how The Last Jedi subverted your expectations in a stupid, boring way.
Right.
Because at the end of the movie, everything is right where it was at the end of the last movie.
Well, except...
Whereas if, you still have a small band of rebels who are running away from the giant fucking First Order.
But Jackson, it's much smaller now. And Rose loves Finn. It's very different.
Rose does love Finn.
God damn it.
She does. Hey, they're going to win this through love. That's how they're going to win.
We can't win this by killing the things we hate. We have to fight for the things we love.
No, absolutely. If you could kill all of them right now, you would win.
Also, by the way, he was trying to kill the things he hates by protecting the things he loves.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Your logic is fucking shit.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, no, it's just funny that these are both. Why didn't they give this guy Star Wars? What's his name again? Kevin
Feige?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess he's busy with this, but.
Right. Well,
but clone the son of a bitch and give him Star Wars.
I'm just floored because I think about like the genres that they put into their films. Thor Ragnarok being like this sort of a space comedy out of left field that nobody was expecting. Winter Soldier being this spy thriller that nobody was expecting. And I'm like, this guy sees trends before they even start happening.
Yeah, I suppose. Now, okay, here's a question. Are we going to get something that surprises us in a good way with Solo? Is it going to be different? Is it going to be like some sort of a caper type movie, like a heist movie? You know what I'm saying? Like this grand thing. I hope it is.
I really hope that they start integrating new genres into the Star Wars.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's all the same. And you're going to kill the franchise if you keep making the same shit. We already talked about that individually, but it's like it's TIE fighters and it's Death Stars and it's
all about nostalgia and it works to a point,
right?
But it's not going to work forever.
Yeah, well, it's incredibly limiting. It's like take us way in the past, take us way in the future. Just do something different.
Well, the Last Jedi fans out there would tell you that that's what they just tried to do, and you hated it. But I don't think that's what they tried to do.
No, because it still relied on all the nostalgia and the things that are bankable, all the things that we've already seen before. And thematically, you changed a few things, but visually you didn't change a whole lot.
Well, you didn't change anything, and there's a reason why these types of things don't happen in these types of stories because it's not interesting.
Right. I think the greatest thing that they did was not give Rey parents that mean
that's
anything.
Good. I liked that.
That's the best thing.
I liked that. Now, what really would have been great is if, she takes his hand and goes with him. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Instead of, but basically, so that's her arc, is that she finds out who her parents aren't.
Yep.
Right? That's the arc for her in the movie.
See, that's the problem is they actually finished her arc in this movie, so she actually doesn't have much of an arc going into the next one, which is, I think, where a lot of the whole, I don't need to see this. Finn already repeated the same arc he had in both movies. She's finished her arc. Poe Dameron learned his lesson in this one, and we got a new bad guy, and I don't really care about, even though he's the greatest character in the series.
He is the best character in the series.
But I don't care because he did the thing that everybody was expecting him to do, basically.
Like double down on evil. I think a lot of people expected him to be good by the end. I did.
The thing that would have floored me is if they flipped.
It's funny because you look at a lot of the stuff in that movie. It's funny how this has turned into a Last Jedi conversation, but whatever, let's do it.
It's the amazing execution versus the botched
execution. And it's hard to call it. It's not a bad movie.
No. I didn't hate it walking out.
But what's interesting is if you tell me these things at face value, like if you start listing the subversions at face value, they sound interesting.
Yep.
But where did it go wrong as far as the feeling you got from the way they executed it?
I think a lot of it has to do with you set the tone with the first scene, and I think a lot of we're subverting expectations right out the gates with the way that Luke throws the lightsaber. I think that really set the tone because you're like, I'm fine with a little subversion, but when you subvert everything, it's like the Iron Man 3. People really had this thing that they were looking forward to.
Right, I did.
And you pissed all over it. Now, you did it for good thematic reasonings, and it's kind of interesting what you're trying to say, but you pissed all over this expectation that people had. And you did the same thing with Luke, and you did the same thing with Snoke.
It's just so clear that the end of The Force Awakens is so detached from what... I'm sorry, but that is not what JJ had in mind.
Oh, yeah, it's evidence.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I don't think JJ knew where they were going. I really don't buy it.
I mean, he certainly didn't think, Luke's going to take the lightsaber and throw it over his shoulder for a fucking laugh.
I mean, I do think he had sort of a vague idea, but he's like, they didn't know what they were doing. And it's so evident.
Who didn't want to see that conversation? What happens here? Instead, you had him trying to get a laugh.
Yep.
Throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder. And you're right. That sets the tone for the movie. There's a lot of stuff that's just, it's bizarre. It's a weird movie.
It is.
But yeah, I mean, nothing more to say about The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Back to Infinity War. I mean, it was great. I'm floored. I did not think I would like it anywhere near, because I think we both had the same fear of how the fuck are you going to pull this off? You've got 30 characters.
Right, and I didn't think about the fact that, wait a minute, all the exposition's been done on him.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you're going to pull it off. You don't need to fuck around and waste time with shit.
It was genius because they actually looked at it as look, let's finally take full advantage of this serialized storytelling that we're doing and just not hold people's hands.
It's evident that they had a plan.
Yeah.
And back to Star Wars, clearly they did not.
Yeah.
But it was really good.
It was really good. I think you got to see it twice kind of movie. To really appreciate.
Keep seeing it.
Right. Yeah.
Keep seeing it. Deserves every penny it makes.
Keep seeing it until you go on Box Office Mojo and you see it's made over $2.176 billion, which is when it will pass Titanic. So we can say, fuck you, James Cameron, all in unison. That's what I want.
I don't think it needs to be as big as Titanic.
It doesn't need to be.
This is a Marvel shill here. He's on the Disney payroll. Yep. Yes. And I just want you other DC fans to understand that I feel your pain. I watched this movie and Superman's my favorite superhero, and I get depressed because there's no reason why you have to butcher those characters. I mean, you've got Superman and Batman, do something good. I mean, we've seen it done with Batman. We saw it done with Superman long ago.
Right.
But I want new fucking awesome Superman.
Right. And I'm of two minds on it, which is, one, I'm a Marvel fan, and I'm like, dude, DC, step up your game. This is embarrassing.
It's pathetic.
And two, I like a lot of DC characters. I like Green Lantern. I actually think Aquaman's kind of a cool character when you get into his mythology. Batman's amazing. I've come to appreciate Superman whereas before I hated him. I mean, they have so much going for them. It's like there is no reason that it should be this level of disparity between the two.
It's really bad.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
I mean, we were talking about the Red Letter Media review for this film.
Which, by the way, I was a little upset when I watched it because I feel like Mike from Red Letter Media was spying on me because he made the same insults that I made on this movie that I knew was going to be on the podcast.
Right.
I said these when I came out of the movie.
Yep.
You fucks. But yeah, anyways.
And I was really nice to Jackson, and I said, well, it's what all the smart people are saying about the movie.
Yeah, that's right. I am pretty fucking smart. But yeah, no, go ahead.
I like how we said before we recorded this, we're like, maybe let's get into a huge fight.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
No.
I can't let it happen.
No, yeah. Well,
I'm too much of a pussy, I believe.
What
is
Alex
the word.
doesn't know is that when I snap my fingers at the end of this podcast, he's going to disappear.
Oh, man, how ballsy would that be? Jackson's like, welcome to Bored and Annoyed.
Yeah, but
I
then
am
next
both.
week you'd be back, so it wouldn't mean anything. That's my point.
Well, for me to come back, you'd have to go. So
is that? I don't know.
I think that's how it's going to go. I do. Right. Movie's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's
great.
not much to say when you. I mean, you don't want to. You can't talk too much about it.
Yeah, you can't suck a movie's dick for 40 minutes.
Right. But you can for an hour and 20.
Yeah, disproven here.
Right.
No, I loved it. I don't know what else to say. No segue for the ending. Snap and it's over. I can't actually snap because I'm one of those guys.
Oh, that's weird. I can't whistle, so.
Yeah, I can't do either.
So I could use. Oh, really? Because I was going to say
I
could use the gauntlet, but you couldn't use that thing that Michael Rooker has.
Which, by the way, how is that not everywhere in the universe? That arrow can go through ships. It can go through tons of people.
That was a great set piece in 2 with the arrow.
Honestly, I thought it went too long.
God, you're the worst. You really
and
are
with
worst.
that,
hold on. What comes out next weekend? Do we know?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, this is what Cameron was talking about, folks. This is what Cameron was talking about. Just
go and see Infinity War a third time.
No, next weekend.
I'll see you there at the theater.
Oh, you're the worst. You're such a shill. No, next weekend we have Disobedience, Tully, and Overboard. So yeah, I will be going to see probably the Avengers.
Yeah, this is one of those things nobody wanted to mess with that second weekend or first weekend.
Wow, that's really annoying, though, because I'd like for something. I mean, Tully's supposed to be good, but it's not really my kind of movie. So
I don't even know what it's about.
It's the Charlize Theron one where she has, like, kids and some helper shows up at her house.
Oh, that doesn't look bad, actually. It's a mom movie. We talk about mom and dad movies. That's a mom movie.
Last week I saw, or the last podcast, or the one before, I saw a dad movie. This is a mom movie.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to see a mom movie to compare.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'll do? I'll seek out a real pile of shit this weekend. Maybe I'll go see like that. Is that horror movie still in theaters?
Oh, Truth or Dare?
Yeah, maybe I'll go see that.
Yeah. Or you could start on maybe a new segment that I've been thinking of. Jackson watches anime.
Oh God, yeah, we're gonna do that eventually. Or yeah, I mean, I can always talk about TV shows. I got a lot of them, so.
Yeah. We got to catch up on Westworld. We didn't check out the second one, either of us.
No.
But yeah, maybe next week we'll do that. I don't know. Mystery episode.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a mystery box, JJ.
All right.
But yeah, with that, this has been Bored and Annoyed. You can reach us at 2boredandannoyedboys@gmail.com. And I am Home at the Movies on YouTube if you would like to check that out.
And I am Jackson.
And that's it.
Have a good week and enjoy your 3rd, 4th, and 5th viewing of The Avengers.